So, okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah,
I'll
please.
the desktop. Um, I will later on. I'll ask Dr. Geeta Nadella to present from his screen, but I will I will do a very quick, you know, introduction to what research, the topic of research is itself, and we'll take it further from there. We'll walk. Most important is that we walk you through some live examples of the research papers which we will present today. And even though patenting is very important part of research and inventing or innovating, but we may not have enough time, and that could be a different call with a slightly more matured audience. But let them get started with like the symposium, poster presentations, and research papers. So it will be jointly presented by me and Dr. Geeta Nadella. Both of us are on the call here. And so first of all, I want to just start by describing what is research itself. And then we'll pick up a theme, we'll dwell a little bit deep into it, and then we'll walk you through some live examples. So if you Google what is research, the definition will be like systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So it's a kind of a broad sweeping statement, but still it is a very limited statement. Limited in the sense that it's still kind of focusing on, literature survey. So there are a lot of research papers who cut off at literature survey, and by citing multiple papers from various authors, they try to draw a conclusion. And nothing wrong as such with that. But if you see research itself, I think, it is a three-step process. That first you define a very focused problem area that you want to work on. And the top definition more fits into the research part of it and the reach part of it. So the research is basically, the search part is like whatever is the literature survey, what somebody has done out there, we can figure it out. And then, we can reach to a conclusion, a goal, or some kind of claims if in case of a patent. So, and we first, before we do that, we identify a research gap. So through the literature survey, so we define the problem at the top, and then we do a survey of the literature. And then from that survey, we identify a research gap, and then we lay down a solution and a method. And through that, we support it with multiple graphs and, various other things. And whether they are simulations or they could be from actual data as well. For example, the JAMA journal, uh, American Medical Association, Journal of the American Medical Association, if they'll publish, there'll be some documented studies. Okay, this is the population set of the patient data, and then this was the intervention performed, and then with each research we have somebody called a principal investigator, PI, and there could be co-PIs, co-principal investigators also. See, for example, all the research grants, they have got PIs and co-PIs. So in our SV multiversity, we offer right up to the PhD level. And let us say at the lowest level, what could be the most rudimentary type of presentation. I believe there's an event coming up in September somewhere in New York area or the vicinity of that, in New Jersey, New York area. So our research scholars, they've got this excellent opportunity to do some poster presentations over there. And a step beyond that would be conference proceedings, most of which are of course peer reviewed. And then we go to the journal, which is little higher level, and those are peer reviewed, and they follow some strict standards of quality. And then there's a little bit longer lead time on that also. We can file patents, and if we get lucky, we can get some issued patents as well. So these are like the multitude of possibilities of what you can publish. So it all starts with some kind of a creative visualization. And it's a collaboration to solve problems of the world, advancing science and technology to benefit humanity and the planet. We start with getting into the right collaborative mindset, and it's like consult to create. So it is all about collaboration. When we talk about even peer reviews, we talk about citing journals. We are, all this is all about collaboration. Typically you will see there are multiple authors on a paper. We'll walk you through some live examples of some actual papers later on, but it's all about collaboration. If that is one word about research, this is more important, is collaboration. And at SV Multiversity, when we talk of correlation makes collaboration easy. It makes collaboration, on steroids, because if we are already correlated, that means we are not having conflicts, but we are consulting to collaborate. We are consulting with each other to advance towards a goal. So correlation and collaboration are very, very important, and they are kind of going hand in glove over here as far as SVM is concerned. So we understand the research paper structure. We walk through some examples today, develop a clear understanding, of the thesis statement. No ambiguity. You should be clear in your own mind, then only you can document it actually on the paper. And conduct a thorough literature review. What is state of the art today? Give credits to all those people who have done whatever work. Choose the right research by identifying the research gap so that it is going to be of some value. So we define a unique, as part of the methodology, unique and novel solution. We annotate each diagram, especially in patents. Each block diagram is annotated. Oh, this arrow, this will go from here to here. This will do this. This block performs this particular function. And we arrive at some conclusions, right? Effective data collection and analysis is again very, very important. And we can have the documented evidence with some actual data graphs or even through the simulation runs. For example, my entire PhD thesis were full of 3D simulation run graphs. Whatever the point or the hypothesis was being proved, it would have cost multi-$100 million to implement that solution. So the best we could do was with simulation arrive at a proving of the hypothesis. So citation and widening any kind of accusations on you that you stole IP from somewhere. It is very important to truthfully and honestly attribute and acknowledge, and as necessary, if we need to seek permissions, let's do that, because our intention is to create something original, sometimes first of a kind things, and not to be being accused of something that was not ours. We never do it in an appropriate manner. That is again ethical standards also. So we start with creative visualization, out of the box thinking, and I recommend everybody to start creating a one pager. And this one pager is more than a project on a plan, which will be the next thing. And I believe Dr. Shri Gupta on the call, he has created a template which will be shared with all of us. And that will be, one pager of the outline of your thought process. So what is the research topic in view of, what you want to solve, and what is the problem that is seeking a solution, right? So what is the short-term or long-term need of the humanity or the planet, and what is the problem we are solving, and a brief outline of the solution. Literature survey, how will we perform? You go to like google.com/patents, and then with the person's name or with the topic, you can actually do a lot of research there, and a lot of patents will come. I can show you an example of that as we progress. State of the art on the topic in view of literature survey, identify the research gap. So from literature survey and the problem statement, you will see this is a problem statement. Subset of that has already been addressed. So if you create a Venn diagram, what is the subset that has not been addressed? That is what you want to focus on. And that will be the value addition here. So we clearly articulate as to how the solution that we want to do here how is the solution going to be unique and novel in all its aspects, right? So the uniqueness and novelty of the invention or of the solution or for research contribution is very, very important to be brought out, right? And what is the utility of it? So uniqueness and novelty for research contribution and its utility to humanity or to the planet. So then, a broad high level plan, how you want to achieve this, the targets, and by when, and what are the sources, labs, who you will reach out to, who's you're going to be collaborators, your guides, and um, all that basically would be part of the plan on a page kind of a thing that you will have. So let us say, okay, I have a hypothesis that I can reverse global warming by lowering the sea levels. How do I do it? So I create net new lakes, and I will create integrated communities around those in those lakes, and that will become a source of water for doing plantation. So I can convert a desert kind of area or a wasteland kind of area into a wonderland, increase real estate value. So that's the hypothesis. So in the desert area, I line the lake with some special materials, which will prevent water from being absorbed, by the sand. So the water will be retained in the lake, right? Some special lining. And so all this, and no, this is a hypothesis. Now, with that hypothesis, if I can develop some models and I can do some monitoring, and then I can present some simulations, and I can project how is it going to help the planet. Okay, another example I'll take. Okay, I want to create a biosphere, and no, it's again extension of what I was talking earlier. I take 100 acres of land, and I want to plant trees there, and I want to build lakes over there. And when I'm talking about the lakes, I'm addressing basically the hydrosphere problem. I will be some kind of marine life over there, plankton growth. The plankton growth will be the oxygen reservoir for the marine life. The fish will breathe in the oxygen that is released by plankton. And I am using AI, ML, NLP, IoT, 5G and Edge kind of technologies. So most important is to support our hypothesis. We draw an architecture, we build a block diagram, we have the multi-dimensional graphs I talked about earlier. We do the simulation runs with the actual data or as available to reach our observation conclusions. I write the claims in the patents, So describe visually as far as possible we can, with the block diagrams and with the graphs, rather than making a very monotonous kind of a lengthy written document that can put people to sleep while reading. So then, no, I'm extending it. I'm saying that, okay, these are my plotting of the graphs. This is my hypothesis with 100 acres. This is the carbon offset I am creating. So I'm plotting that in Excel sheets I'm sharing. And then, I'm plotting graphs of how much of carbon dioxide will be removed in terms of tons, and now I'm scaling that model across the planet. So what we are looking at in terms of scaling the model. So we have got one example of a community, but no, if I scale how many communities I can build, how many trees will be planted there, how many lakes are created there, how much of plankton is growing there. So all that can be basically extrapolated. So extrapolation is important to show the global impact of your solution as well. So I'll just pause here. I want to quickly show you. I will bring up a browser, and I will quickly show you. If you want to go here, how you can basically search. So go to google.com, okay, /patents, okay, and let us say at that website, I'm just very dumb, search I'll do just with my name, okay. And here, or you could do with the topic also. So, okay, I'll just pick up one particular example here. And again, we don't have a lot of time, but you can download several of these. So let us say you download this now. So now, if you can see my screen on this particular patent application, you can see there's an abstract. But I would say that abstract should be the last thing people write, once they have crystallized their hypothesis, right? And rather than starting with the abstract first. It's not a bad idea to do that either, but that's just me. I write the abstract the last. So I start, okay, this is like a flow chart, for a unique identification number. So if you see here, each block has got a number within it, right? And I'll explain why those numbers are there. So you have multiple diagrams in this, and then you have all these diagrams annotated with some block numbers. And you will see that, when we are start to describe background of the invention, is a CIP, means continuation in part of the previous application filed, so and so. So you can see some issued patents also there at that website. But why I picked this one, because it's a little complicated, but it is very descriptive. Then detailed description of the embodiment. So here you will see that all those 77 blocks you saw, we are talking about each one of those blocks, right? And then we are describing each one of those as an embodiment of that particular invention. Okay. So, and then towards the end, you will see that we are writing, some claims. So that is what we are concluding, that what we are claiming through this invention. And you will see that one claim here, it starts here, and it's a very long claim. It goes probably into multiple pages, the claim itself. So it goes up to here, and then claim number 2, 3, 4, what we are claiming. So like that, we conclude. So Dr. Nadella, you want to take over, please? You want to share your screen, or you want me to present? I can stop presenting.
Either way is fine.
Yeah, go ahead. I think you'll have more control if you present from your screen. So you can share your screen and walk them through a couple of templates and some real example. So, and I want to leave some time towards the end for Q&A also. So, and you can also mention to them about the Google Scholar. I believe you have a profile there. You might like to show them Google Scholar profile of yours.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So, 1 second. Yeah, I think I've now pretty much covered all of it, but I want to go in a few of those steps in detail.
Yeah, can you go in the view mode, please?
1 second. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
Yeah. So I don't want to go looking at everything in detail, all these slides, but I want to cover some key points, especially when anybody wants to write any paper, where to begin, how to frame the idea, where to start, and how to read, somebody else research papers, and how to frame an idea out of it, how to identify those gaps. So those are some of the pieces that I want to cover in today's meeting. The time permits. So let me actually begin with some of the papers. All right. So don't worry about the title of the topic or anything like that, but this is the heart of the entire paper. Whatever the research study completed in a nutshell, if somebody wants to read it, if the research paper is 20 pages long, how do I finish? How do I understand what research that they have done in under 5 minutes? So this is the only section that anybody wants to focus on. See, so in the abstract, what is the basic intention of their study, and how this study will affect the current aspects of their research procedures or something. And in case if they had any methodology that they implemented, what methodology that they implemented in that particular study, And in case if they do have any results, if there are any positive results or any negative results, they'll also include those results. So this is a basic format of any abstract, any good abstract, I would say. Not every abstract sounds the same, but what do you need to look for is, like, if there is a problem statement included in the abstract, if there is a purpose of study included in the abstract, if there is any specific methodology, like quantitative analysis or qualitative or a mixed study or anything like that. So those are the key elements which help us to understand how their research has been conducted. So after going through all that, if you want to, go through each and every introduction, like, it can have a problem statement, it can have a, summary of their research, that they want to do, it can have, like, any implications or anything, that they want to include. So all those parts you can identify in the introduction part. Literature review, I think Abner has already covered, this piece, saying, what has been done in the past, and what are the gaps that we identify, from their papers, and how do you want to take these further. So in that process, one of the critical steps is to identify not a ton of papers from Google Scholar, but irrelevant papers based on the keywords. I don't think we have a keywords included in this paper, but those keywords, like, if the papers that we identify, from the Google Scholar are they relevant to my topic, to my study, how far they're relevant, like, how far they're different from my study to the previous study. So those are all the things, that we need to go through, like, while we, find, the relevant papers from the literature review. And this is just, I don't know, covered, like, a couple of minutes ago, like, if we are planning to perform any method, any methodology in our research, like, we need to give a high level wireframe diagram, say, where we begin, how do we, go through all those multiple steps to get our desired result. See, here we have a proposed methodology. So if we go through, read all these papers, what they had from the literature review, then, maybe at some point, like, see, they're using some k-nearest, algorithms. So that's how, we have to correlate from the previous research, the research that they completed in a specific area that we're interested in, and then, how do we correlate that to set our own methodology, for our research method strategies. And then, data collection, a critical piece. Data pre-processing is a critical piece, and how we are going to collect the data. And I think we have yeah, this is going to be a good example. Like, when we are setting our research questions, what is the research question explaining? Like, are you trying to identify the key differences between the person who take, vitamin tablets and who doesn't take, or who takes, like, junk food, or, who is on a healthy diet? That's a kind of a difference that we're trying to identify. The other research side is correlation, to what extent that these two people are related, if they have any common diet that they take. So that's a kind of, different type of research. Again, within the research, like, what type of data that we are going to collect for our analysis. Is it an ordinal data, nominal data? If, let's say, you have 1,000 people, and you want to grade people based on their income, or we go, like, on a scale of 1 to 10? No, we go by dollar amounts, right? So that's how, like, we need to figure out what type of data that this research question can fit in, and based on the type of data, you end up preparing a correct statistical test to analyze the results. So other than that, once you get any results, if you try to put it in a tabular format or any pictorial diagrams, like, we need to use the right template. Let's say, for example, we were trying to submit this paper somewhere in a top journal. So do they have any template, that they specify? If I have a diagram, how they want me to cite these diagrams? Is it a color, non-color? How do you put the naming convention for that diagram, or a table? What type of format that we need to use? So every minute thing, that we have to be more focused on, while we're drafting, these research papers. Um, Other than that, um, yeah, references. Like I've now mentioned earlier, if you are citing somebody's idea, like if you're using somebody's idea to frame your entire research, we still have to give them a credit. So, how do you cite them? Are you citing, there are multiple types of citation types, APA format, Chicago format, MLA format. So we have a plenty of citation types. So based on the journal requirement or a book requirement or a conference proceedings requirement, we have to properly cite all the references, wherever you grab the idea from, so that, we are giving credit to the right set of people. Um, so I want to show you one more sample item. I don't know if you'd like, I can, update this PowerPoint, and you can share it with anybody else, because
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you want
sure,
to think
sure,
of the university's names,
sure,
it's
sure.
proprietary. Okay? But this is like the very basic fundamental document that anybody can go through on how to develop a research idea, how to put it on a paper. Earlier you mentioned something like, just start with like a one-page document, uh, talk about the unique idea you have. Okay, and then start with collecting some sample documents from Google Scholar or something, is there any relevant research that has already been published, in the last 3 years or 5 years? And then what are the key differences, or the common points that all these papers that you collected before, and would you be able to identify a gap from those previous papers? And we have to come up with an idea, like that same idea that you thought that you're going to work before, how you can put that idea into action, and whether these collective information will help you to identify a research gap that is relevant, again, back to your topic. So that's how you have to frame your bare bone first, the structure of the entire research document. So without having any title design, without having any problem statement or any research question or survey questions or type of data that I'm going to collect. Some of the key fundamental things that we can think of, any paper that you pick out there on Google Scholar, it has to have a introduction, basic introduction, saying, hey, my name is so and so, I'm working in so and so industry, I'm planning to work on this so and so topic, this topic will have, that I assume, if you have people in such a place, so and so. This is the basic introduction, and then think of a literature review, has anybody done anything relevant, in the last 3 to 5 years? And the next section that you can think of is the methodology. Okay, now I do know what idea I have. I found some of the gaps from the previous researchers, and I listed all those relevant research studies in the literature review. Now, how do I take this forward? To put it in an action, right? What type of methodology that I'm following? Is it a qualitative, quantitative, mixed study, or are you doing a meta-analysis or systematic literature review type of study or anything like that? So that and all will come under methodology section. In the same methodology, we provide a basic, flow diagram saying, hey, this is where you started, this is how many papers that you picked, and this is how you filter out 50 papers out of a 200 papers collection, because these are more relevant. This is the core cream that you want to consider for your research to move further, right? So that and all you can explain in the methodology section, and then the next one that you can think of is like, okay, I have a methodology. I know what test that I'll be doing. Is it a SAT test, or is it a regular systematic literature review or meta-analysis? Now, how do I proceed further, either in a quantitative or a qualitative way, like to get the actual numbers of how do you visualize the result by processing the data? So, whether you're collecting the data from online, or, you're reaching out to the survey participants, either in person or you can create some online surveys to, so that you can frame a question and they answer it and, they send it back to you. And so, you process the data for them. So that all will come in the results and analysis section. And okay, now you got the results done, you have all the numbers what you need. So now the critical part is the conclusion. Like, what these numbers mean to you, what these numbers mean to anybody, who's doing a research in a similar area. Let's say, I have a temperature of 98. So you collected like temperature of 100 other people. So if you take a baseline or average temperature of all the 100 people, are the results coming good or bad? Like, anybody having a high fever, or 60% of people are having a high fever or low fever. Is that related to any of the food type or a drug type that we took? Is that a kind of like an adverse reaction, out of the drug? So this is how we need to make a correlation, with the data that we collected and, the analysis that we complete and, the numbers or the output that the results throw out. So the conclusion is, the reason why I'm saying it critical is because of, from all the section 1 to 4, whatever we covered so far, like, the introduction, literature review, methodology, results, analysis, blah, 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 everything is done. But this is the key piece. Why? Because that will define, whether you're able to achieve what you want to achieve as a part of your research. And, did your results come in a positive way or a negative way? In case if it come a positive way, then how can you take this further, to the implementation standpoint? In case if you got any negative result, are there any other factors that you might not aware of, or anything, it could be a, causative factor that is influencing your negative results. So you need to figure it out, like, what factors, cause your results to turn negative, so that, like, you can take an extended study out of this study to write another research paper. Say, hey, you know what? This is the methodology that I followed last time, but I didn't get good results. However, I feel like, that these are the 2 key factors that I can think of, like, that are influencing these results in a, highly influential ways. So now, how can I, turn this around? So that could be an extended paper. So if you have a really good, solid idea, I can strongly say that, you can easily extend the same idea to, a number of papers, because these permutation and combination of the keywords, literature review, and, the type of methodology that you do, and, you can have the same data set, but you do it in a different stat algorithm altogether this time. So like that, like, the opportunities are limitless. So anybody who are on this call, I would strongly recommend, to go through this document to understand, like, how to begin any type of research. It doesn't matter if it's related to IT or medical, or, it could be of anything. But there is some, standardized procedure, that we need to follow, like, how to create a idea cloud, like, how we identify the gaps and all that. So these are all pretty standard, like, regardless any domain that we talk about. So yeah, I would highly recommend, anybody to start looking into this document first and understand the basics, and then, take all these individual pieces. See, like, they say quantitative study. Again, within a quantitative, we have, like, n number of statistical tests that we can apply, but you cannot apply pretty much every test to your study. So you have to focus on, like, what type of research question I have. Or, am I doing any survey question? In case if I'm doing a survey, what type of data that I'm collecting? Does that data allow me to apply some stat methods, or that's a kind of like extended game, with all the permutations and combinations that will only suits to your research. So combining all these permutations and combinations from end to end, your research study should look like completely unique, which nobody has done before ever, across the globe. So uh, yeah, back to the research question. Um, so 1 second. All right, let's take a look at this. These are all the list of papers that I've completed, in the last 3 4 months. Majority of them are like from the last 3 4 months. I started somewhere March, early March.
So
But
this is your profile on Google Scholar, correct?
correct.
Yeah. So all the research publications are listed here. So we
These are
wouldn't,
already published.
yeah.
So some of them are like journal publications. Some of them are like conference proceedings. Some are like a book chapter. Some are like just kind of really.
Right. So this is like the LinkedIn of scholars kind of a thing. Like, if you are a research scholar, you need to be there.
And as Abhinav mentioned before, you need to do more collab work, because if I want to write all these papers in 3 months, that is highly humanly impossible. No way.
And besides that, it's not that just you can do it or not. It's also my ideas are my ideas. But once, let us say, Dr. Geeta Nadella is going to validate my ideas, it's not just validation, it is value addition, basically.
Right. That's the beauty of it. Like, when you do a collaboration, like, every time you say, hey, I come up with an idea, like, it doesn't click all the time. Somebody say, hey, I see a little bit of flaw in your idea. Can you tweak your idea a little bit here? Or, can you please update your methodology? Or can you please update this new algorithm that you want to do something? You may not be so aware of, like, some of those things that, other people are good at.
Yeah, so that is exactly what I call the synergy in conflict. So what we do is we create conflict in collaboration by with the purpose of improving the joint idea to be better than any individual idea. That is the synergy of conflict, a
right.
conflict in a constructive way. So, first of all, I say if you want to be a good researcher, you want to be a good scholar, throw ego out of the window and be adaptive to all criticism, because that is going to add value. Be open to all conflict, be open to all arguments, and have zero ego, like in financial transactions we talk about zero trust policy. So I say let us talk about zero ego policy to be a research scholar. So, and that's the only way we are going to be receptive to new ideas. We can open up our mind to collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with
And if you see, these are all the collaborators, that I work on a day-to-day basis. And one guy, he's like really good in, running AI ML data sets, period. Like he's a top in the team. Another person, like, he's always a good critic, he always come up, with something saying, hey, it might not be so good, like, so it's like a kind of like, internal validation, validating within ourselves first before we hit the paper on. So that if we keep on doing that, unknowingly it will add more quality to the paper that we write. And one guy is like really good in using English vocabulary, like the academic level. Another person is like really fast in formatting based on whatever the template that the journal asks for, like or a particular conference proceeding. So our team is like so blessed, like that we do have these unique set of skills for each and every person, so that like we can run faster in less time. So that's one of the positive aspects of you know of these collaborations across. But sometimes it might be a little bit of pain too. Like it might put few stuff onto the background, or like 9 out of 10 people, like they may not like the idea to proceed further. But it doesn't mean like that you don't have to proceed with that anymore, or you have to stop or something like that. But you can still put that on the parking lot and proceed with somebody else's idea, like that gains more points, and you just simply take it from there. But if you have that zeal of like that you want to write something unique, it's more of a creative work, like how you visualize the paper even before putting your pen on the paper. You just simply have to have the thought process of like what I'll be doing and how I'll be doing and how do I achieve my goal. So if you want to write your unique ideas, like to share them across the globe, like this is like one good way, where you can put all your community work, and you can also follow other people, like who have a similar interest, and so that you can start reading their papers, so that like the more you read, the more unique ideas you may get. So you never know what other paper, what other book has some important value behind.
I would like to add one word of caution to publishing. Whenever it's great to publish, but let us say I publish a book or I publish a research paper, I have only 12 months from that date of publication to file a patent. Okay. So that's a word of caution there. If you intend to file a patent on that invention, if you have disclosed it as a published paper or in an article in a book or anything, then you only have, even in a conference proceeding, you only have 12 months. So be careful and be mindful of that deadline, that within that deadline, you must go ahead and file, even if you file provisional. And
Yeah, so
by filing provisional, you gain another 12 months to file the regular. Go ahead.
So Dr. Agarwal, there's only 15 minutes left. Are we doing some Q&A as well?
Yes,
now?
yes, we are
Yeah,
open to
let me
questions.
put a hard stop here. Let me stop my screen share, and I want to
And before we start the Q&A, I just want to announce one thing, because we are planning to do what is called an abstract review for all the students, where they will present in front of a panel of all the faculty members, each of the students, just over 5 minutes, what the problem they're working on and what do they want to achieve at the end of the project, the research.
Sure.
So that'll be towards
that'll be a good start. And also, like once
next week.
we finish the
Next week.
Yeah, towards the
sharing the
Thursday or
app.
Friday, we'll see whether everybody's available. So we'll get. So by then, I'm sure all the students should be ready with their
Thursday or
sort of
Friday
the
of next
abstract.
week. Next
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
Okay,
towards the end of next week.
perfect.
And so that like they will also have a chance to do through like some of our materials that we provide, the research fundamentals, and read those stuff, and have your abstract on the side and see what you understood out of it, and which direction that you can think of that you can move forward. So that like so if we listen their voice, probably we'll understand better, like who are thinking like in what direction, and how we can assist them in a better way, that help us
Yeah,
done much better.
and they can listen to other students as well, what they are doing.
Absolutely, because they
yeah.
could identify some intersections for collaboration through that abstract presentation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's open for question and answers from everybody.
And I'm sorry, I didn't prepare that good today. This was like some last minute thing for me, but I hope I've given enough information. But I would like to listen more from.
So yeah, one suggestion I have is all the materials we have shared, they should be made available to students, whether you put on a shared drive or something. I made those available to Dr. Shiri, Dr. Shan, Siddha, and Surbi. So if those could be kindly shared, and with, I believe with Mohan Priya also, could kindly be shared with the students. They can have access to these.
Sure, yeah, I think we too can work on that, and we need to clean up some of these documents a little.
Okay. And we can always do an iteration. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, open for questions, please.
simplified, and if you can share that, it'll be a great idea, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody on the call from or research scholars, they are welcome to go ahead and ask any questions. I did sync up earlier in the day today with both Jia and Jatin, and they are working on their respective projects. And there are other, I believe, research scholars on the call as well. So you are go ahead and welcome to ask questions, and either of me or Dr. Nadella, or you got any generic comments, please go ahead.
I mean, one general question.
Yes.
Do the students have a fixed slot with their supervisors where they can contact them, or they can contact anytime they want? How does it work?
At least for me, I have told them to contact me anytime they want.
Okay.
But for others, if they have to seek their convenience or whatever mutually works. For me, I have not put any restrictions on when they can contact.
Right.
I think it would be great, like if we can have a fixed slot, probably every 1 week or every couple of weeks. They can send an email to you anytime, whenever they like. That's not a problem.
One suggestion I have on the question asked by Dr. Shiri is that I will request all the research guides to have at the minimum, 1 or 2 weekly meetings with their director scholars. Either they can have a group meeting, but one-on-one also at the minimum once or twice a week, they must reach to each research scholar, because I think sometimes it can be just the inertia, of getting started. And we have to make them feel comfortable, make them feel at home, and maybe even refine the research problem or the hypothesis, and their interest area might evolve over a period of time. So we have to very closely work with them. That's my.
I don't know if my thought process is correct or not, but I highly recommend to have a group calls first, because everybody is a starter here. Nobody knows much. If many of the people in the group are like that, if somebody else is asking some sort of question, they can easily correlate to the same question if they have, or a different question. Most of the time what happens is somebody else asks a question, that will automatically get it answered, if I have any similar questions or like that. So it's just not me asking whatever the question I have, but it's learning from the other's experience. Who out of 10 people, how many are thinking in the same direction? How many are asking the right question? How many are facing a similar problem across the team? I think that makes more valuable than just having a one-on-one, because
Good idea.
Yeah, I agree, Dr. Nadella. To begin with, that has to be the way. But one-on-one is also important, because once they start, their topic becomes more specific and specific.
it will be definitely
To
there.
begin with, definitely group calls.
Yeah.
And I'm recommending at least one weekly group call.
Right.
And also I'm recommending, one-on-one at least once or twice a week, because
If one person is working on a soil concept, another person is working on a solar, they cannot be on a group call and ask the technical questions. So that you have to go with one-on-one. I agree.
Yeah.
So right now, the way we do is that this is what was planned actually. Like once in a week, we meet for this kind of a discussion, general topic on research, conducting research, etc. But then I have my students meet on Friday at 4. Okay, so that's like a mandatory meeting for once in a week to see how they develop. But they can contact me anytime in between. So they will let know Morgan Priya, I wanted to we have a couple of questions. Then I will set up another meeting for them in between. So this is how used to work. So I think one fixed meeting would be with the individual faculty who is guiding. That would be something to keep them busy, and so it'll give them a discipline, so we can, but rest of the thing you can meet, I think, anytime, or email exchange or whatever, WhatsApp, whatever way they are connecting with you. I think that would be a good, that's my call. But
Yeah, from the student side, any comments on meetings, on the content of today's presentation? What would you like to see in the future, etc.? Any thoughts? Just feel free to speak up. Just unmute yourself.
First
No,
of
I
all,
think everyone, I think
today's
everything went well.
presentation, do you feel it like, is it any value adding, or like, do you think like, that we missed anything big that you're expecting, that you want to listen tonight? Or
yeah, somebody has a question, I think. Who
yeah,
was
please.
that?
No,
Yes.
I was just saying how I don't have any questions. I think it went smoothly. I think it was good.
Okay.
So
Right.
with that being said, like, do you think that you're in a comfortable position that you can start exploring your ideas, like put it on a paper, have a rough draft, it doesn't need to be perfect, like, we can have a number of iterations to get it corrected, but let's start something with, like, to have something, put it on a paper, whatever you learned today, and then take these points and go back to your idea and how you can correlate that, how you can implement that on the idea that you have, and do you visualize your paper in 10 big steps, and then chop it down into like small pieces, and then work on individual pieces of like.
Yeah. I started thinking about my paper. I have a couple ideas I want to do, but I'm still trying to refine it down to an idea that I think will work best.
Good. Okay, I think if there's no more question, I think we are done today. Thank you very much. It was a good presentation, good discussion, I think. And we are looking forward to seeing the abstracts of all the students next week.
Just
Thank
making sure we're supposed to present our rough drafts next week, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Your problem statement
That's
and
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yeah.
both, I believe, Jia and Jatin are on the call. If you may kindly unmute yourself for a second. And from the earlier meeting we had, so you have something evolving in some shape. Do you think that this meeting benefited you and to get more clarity on what, how you can proceed to go further?
It definitely did.
Okay. Jatin, sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, you're breaking off, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we are done for today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe, but
Okay.
getting 3 minutes back.
Okay, Dr. Geeta Nadella, I wanted to call you later so you can, if you're available, like maybe tomorrow, or then we can discuss some things that may be helpful for the students. You can help us.
We should stop the recording.
Right. Oh, sorry. Just.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.